G'day fellas and welcome to a casted game of Age of Empires 4. Today we're on Hillendale. I love this map. This is a great map, and mainly because we've got ourselves a Chinese civilization, and if there's anything that excels on this map, it's got to be the Chinese, I guess, and the Holy Roman Empire. They're pretty good as well. Maybe the Delhi Sultanate, we'll throw that in as well, but let's introduce our players for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, in the south of the map, in the color blue, playing as the Chinese, it's Ayyubids. And in the north of the map, in the color green, playing as the French, we've got our Chinese friend. Now, this guy's a little bit of a mystery. He doesn't stream on Twitch. And according to his AoE4 world profile, he's from Argentina. Though I noticed a lot of the people that he plays with have got Chinese names, and he's also got a Chinese name. So I'm going to assume that this is our Chinese friend. So we do have a Chinese player, or rather a player playing the Chinese, and then we have our Chinese friend. But we'll just, I guess we could call him the French player. Anyway, welcome. A pleasure to have your company. If you're enjoying this AoE4 content, we've been bringing you absolute banger games so far this 2025 year. Will this be another banger? We'll have to wait and see. But if you're enjoying it, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button. Really helps out with the traction of the video. And let's talk a little bit about where we are due to go in this game. Now, normally, or at least I would say normally, but recently, we've seen professional scouts. A lot of professional scouts. We've seen scouts that are largely professional, not a lot of amateur scouts. Will we see it today? I don't know. I feel like there's definitely less incentive to be going professional scouts on a map like this, primarily because on Hillendale, your deer hunt spawns a lot closer. As we saw here for our French friend, his deer hunt spawned so close that he just moved villagers over to it immediately. Compare that to Ayyubids on the south, who hasn't done that, but his deer is still close. And this is something that you can just herd with a unit or with your scout very easily into the mill. It takes a little bit longer to get there, and it means that you're not going to be picking up the taxes in the early game, but it's still something that you can take advantage of. And because of that, I think the reliance on something like professional scouts is going to be less significant here. So will we see it? We'll have to wait and see whether or not we do. But look, I mean, I guess one thing to note is that for our French friend in the north, there are 2 hunts that you could essentially grab with this. So that's you know, that's pretty decent. And but I guess on the other hand, though, this is another thing to remember, is that if you're playing the French, even up against the Chinese, you're going to have map control, right? So you're going to be able to take this hunt without too much of an issue. Heck, you can even send 8 villagers over here, come grab the boar, and then come and grab these deer. But I mean, it's kind of far. You probably wouldn't want to do that. But age up's now starting to come through. No real surprise here. Imperial Academy going to start us off for Ayyubids on the north side. Probably going to be seeing a School of Cavalry drop down any minute. There it is. With the School of Cavalry coming up with 5 villagers here. So I would expect that we're probably going to be seeing one base out of both of these guys. One base has just kind of been the way that people have been playing in recent times. But on a map like this, it is a little bit more defensive, especially when you've got little choke points like this that are very easy to wall. Like realistically, you could have a wall across here, a wall across here, and all that's left to defend is pretty much this main choke here. That's pretty much it. I mean, you'd probably wall across the top as well. Maybe even throw a little wall in here, and heck, why not? We'll just do a wall across there, and you're all good to go, fellas. All right, well, age up comes through. 2 Imperial officials in the queue immediately. Ayyubids has got a lot of resources to spare when it comes to the Imperial officials. Moves all of his vills over onto the wood. I'm curious to see what kind of opening we're going to have from him here, and whether he looks to go into the quick Song Dynasty. I think in this matchup, Song Dynasty is not a huge bonus for you, but it is nice to be able to have something that defends your base. You can already see a little bit of... Is this a mistake? This is a mistake. This is an objective mistake. Ayyubids taking a little bit too long out on the map. He's going to be idle for quite a bit of time here. You can see he's rally the vills around in a bit of a circle. And unfortunately, it means that he's had about, what, 10, 15, maybe even 20 seconds of idle time. And here we're too close to the town center. Got to be really careful with these sheep. You want to bring them down onto this bottom side so that there's not the risk. You sometimes get this bug where the villager will hand into the town center. Even though technically the mill is closer, it will still prioritize the town center. So you've got to be really, really careful with having them on the top side here. I'm watching right now just to see if it happens. But we'll wait. We'll see exactly what the plan is. But let's ride in on board with our French friend in the north as the first Royal Knight makes its way across the map. He's got the scout in the enemy base. He's looking towards the backside. Doesn't see any vills on stone. Doesn't see any vills on the deer. And says, okay, well, I've got to try and work an angle here. Normally in this matchup, you're looking for the gold vills or the stone vills or stopping that second town center from coming up. But take a look at this. Ayyubids is going to be opting for professional scouts. So we do indeed get it. Now, I don't actually think that we've spotted out... Yeah, we haven't spotted out the stable. on the side of the French. Sees the Ville on the gold, or Ville's on the gold. Now, normally in this situation, let's have a look and see. Ayyubids does respond, but he may lose this one Ville here. Indeed, he will. So normally in this situation, you're not going to be able to hit wood villes because they're too close to the town center, and you're not going to be able to hit food villes because they're too close to the town center as well. So your focus is mainly going to be on those gold villes or stone villes, or just delaying that secondary town center. But look at this already on this map. We are seeing professional scouts moving out right on board in the north side of the map, and see what the response is going to be for our French player, because he's got a lot of resources in the bank already. We see Wheelbarrow has come through for him, I suspect there's probably going to be a couple more knights out, double broadaxe coming through, which signals to me that it could be an archery range switch that we have. Though I would expect normally in this situation when you don't see an enemy responding with spears immediately, so he spots the stable and now he sees the racks, but you don't see the spears immediately, he could afford to go into a second stable here. I don't think that would be problematic at all for him. Now he does see the scouts beginning to move around the south of the base, and you can see the response from Ayyubids is immediate. He says, I'm going to try and get you to the top side. The trouble is, those spearmen aren't yet on the map. He doesn't even have them in queue. He's got the hardened upgrade. I was wondering what the heck's going on there. We do see he drops the deer and he heads back on his way, which is definitely the right call. We want to just move away from that. I'm kind of surprised that he's going for this hunt first. I would have been more tempted to take this one at the back and then try and sneak these out, but not going to be happening for the moment. He's got 4 scouts out, so that's more than enough to move half the hunt, but you've well and truly broadcast your intentions now, so we'll have to wait and see what the plan is, and whether he looks to continue moving these closer deer out, or whether he heads for another option. But take a look at this. A single Royal Knight has been sieging down this house. The house got built outside the radius, and this is one of those things that you kind of learn quite early. I wouldn't even say you learn. It's just something that you got to remember to do, right? Like, I remember playing games, and I would do this, where I put the house next to the mining camp. It kind of makes sense, right? Just because you've got it close to your villager. But the trouble here is that it's outside the radius of the town center. Now, fortunately, he comes in time, and he will be able to repair the house back up. But it's one of those things where it's like, you could have had the house, you know, down over here on the mill. Normally, this is kind of like one of the build order things, right? Because you could get it to line up so that the house and the mining camp are built, and then both of the villas hit the gold at the same time. So that way, you've got like perfect macro. So that's probably part of the reason why. But have a look at this. Spear numbers looking really good here for Ayyubids. He's going to try and pick off some of these Royal Knights. Micro's good, though. Micro is very good. He will be able to take out one of the Royal Knights for the moment, but the Royal Knight number continues to rise. That's got to be a second stable. Yeah, there's no way that's not. There's too many Knights here for it. He manages to get a second one, which ain't a terrible trade. But the scouts here, to be honest, the scouts needed to be in that fight. And the whole reason why the scouts are in that fight is so that your spears are alive for longer. The spears are the damage dealers. So if the scouts are in the fight, you can easily replace them through the stable. Whereas if you lose a spear, right, you want them to be doing as much damage as you can. So Ayyubids needs to be fighting with these scouts as well as with the spears. And then you basically, all they're doing is you're just trying to absorb attacks with it. That's the whole idea. But he manages to do some pretty decent defense here. I don't know what's going on with these sheep. These sheep should have transferred over to Ayyubids, but maybe he's got to come back and click them. Hold on. Do we have a wall? No, there's no wall segment here. Sometimes, I mean, it's a bit cheeky, but you can put a wall segment here. You don't have to build it, and you just tell the sheep to go to right-click to the wall segment, and you can't actually... Whoa. Hello. How are you? I'm much better now. Wow. Okay, look, there are trade booms, and then there are whatever this is. This is absolute insanity. Look, I've talked a couple of times about Age of Empires 3 already in the games that we've had this year. This is something that you'd only ever see in Age of Empires 3, and you would see it for docks. You wouldn't see it for... Well, I mean, you didn't really have the whole idea of trade back then. Yeah, this is something that you would see in Age of Empires 3 a lot. So basically, there was a card that you would ship called Schooners. It would reduce the cost of a fishing boat down from 100 wood down to like 40 wood, which was crazy. And it meant that you could just put 4 docks down and just go like absolutely ham. Often you do it in team games. It was so much fun. That was my favorite thing. It was called a big boy boat boom. That's what I used to call it. But anyway, we're having a big boy boat boom of the land kind to the north. Not the man kind, the land kind. Have a look at this. The first one is out already. He's already told these guys, hey, I want you to go to the back market. That's going to be where you trade from. But look at Ayyubids, dude. Honestly, this is kind of scary right now for our French player. And let me explain why. Ayyubids not going 1 TC. Or, sorry, Ayyubids not going 2 TC. Ayyubids going 1 TC. He's not even going for a Barbican. He's quite literally just playing the exact way that you want to play against an early game French. And the idea is simple. You don't want to spend resources on things you don't need. If I don't need a Barbican to defend my gold because I'm not taking my gold, then I don't need a Barbican. That's simple, right? So I think that's a super duper smart move, and that allows him to spend more resources on units earlier, have better trades earlier, and then that makes him stand stronger against engagements like this. But we now start to see horsemen looking to come out and join the fight. Still, these knights are doing a decent job here, but the number's still not perfect for Ayyubids. Needs to focus a little bit more on those spears. We really want to see those numbers move. Oh my lord, never mind. He's got an absolutely huge amount. Really curious decision making though, or not decision making, but interesting that he's over here. I don't think he knows about these just yet. I wonder if he's actually run into a trader or not. There is technically one worker that has been killed, so it could have been a trader. There is an outpost and a mill down here, but we know the trader's moved it down. Oh, he's going to trade to this corner. Really smart. Really smart. Just trade it up. Switch it up. Absolutely. Definitely a nice way to do it. But yeah, this is going to be tough for our French friend in the north to hold. Primarily because I just realized something. It's quite funny. Ayyubids actually French. So we've got Ayyubids playing the Chinese as a Frenchman, and the Chinese playing the French as a Chineseman. Yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna... Sorry. Anyway, you guys get the picture, right? It's funny. Because I'm sure people watching this that know Ayyubids, and by the way, I'll leave a link in the description to where you can watch him over on Twitch, but those who do know him would be saying, well, hold on, he's the Frenchman. But the French player. Let's just go with that. So, yeah, this is quite difficult because you're essentially going for an insanely big boom here. Now, this would make sense against like a 2 TC play. But against a 1 TC play with professional scouts, that's the other thing to remember, is that you've got professional scouts in play, which means you've got guaranteed food income for at least the first 18 minutes of the game here. He's going to be denying both of these, or this hunt here. Obviously didn't hit the one in the front of the base, but gets 3 hunts here. Guaranteed. He got a decent amount of sheep. We saw him come in a little bit late with it. But this is going to be a very difficult thing to fulfill for our French player in the north of the map. Now, interestingly, it looks like we've got the walls up completely, and Ayyubids was a little bit late on getting these scouts out to deny this hunt, and as a result, the walls have completed. We're at the 12-minute mark here. I think professional scouts probably came in around the 6-minute mark for him. But you can see just how much he's getting run around. I tell you what, I was playing around a little bit with the Chinese. I said, okay, I really like this kind of professional scout style, just sticking it with food-heavy units. How fast can we get? And professional scouts, you can get it so absurdly quick on the Chinese. Like, we're talking like 4 minutes and 20 seconds, professional scouts. It's ridiculous. But whether or not it's good is a different matter. Have a look at this, though. Units running everywhere, just trying to escape. He's got a lot of knights out right now, our French player. And we'll check back in on the south side. I want to ride on board with Ayyubids because the Barbican is now up. So that normally means that you will see an archery range coming down, but there's no need for him to go into the archery range now. That's the other thing to note, is you'd only go into it if you saw spears from the enemy. And he's seen a Scarrick or two, but nothing serious. And if you just make more spears than the enemy, that's the other thing to note. You can just make a lot of spears and you'll be fine. In fact, you could just move into 100% spears at this point and you'd still be fine. But if the enemy starts moving into archers, well, then you're probably going to have to move into Jukunu. Yeah, that should work a marvel for you. Though I will say this, in this matchup in particular, Jukunu can be very difficult just because of the knight and the way that it works with its armor. The breakpoints are a little bit different from horsemen, so your horseman's got a base of 2, and with Iron Undermesh goes up to 3, whereas the Knight is a base of 3 that goes up to 4 with Iron Undermesh, and that's difficult because for the Jukunu, they do 5 damage with their +1. So basically, you're doing 1 damage a pop to the Knights compared to doing 2 damage a pop, which is, you know, half damage versus double damage to Horsemen. Anyway, that's sort of the mindset. Obviously, it's not going to really matter here because Ayyubids is going straight to the Castle Age, and I would expect that we would see an archery range thrown down with a Imperial official on that bad boy. And we're going to have crossbows. That's what I'd like to see. Whether or not we actually see that. Instead, we see veterancy coming through. So he could just move into Lancers as well. That's another thing to note. But Lancers probably don't make a lot of sense in this position just because your enemy's already got spears out. Obviously, they're great units. But in general, you'd probably just want to avoid it. I think just moving into the veterancy here is really smart. I'd love to see him drop down a monastery. Do we get a monastery from him? Have a quick look around the base. Nothing just yet, but just moving into the veterancy is absolutely huge because the spearmen go from 90 and 9 to 110 and 12, 110 and 10. So little bit of a DPS upgrade, definitely a huge health upgrade as well. Horsemen obviously picking up that upgrade for veterancy too. We don't see any +2s coming through just yet. Got to be careful in this situation, losing out quite a bit against those knights. You can see just how many knights there are, and he'd be fearful about fighting against these spears. The fact that they've got veterancy now. The age up comes through. It's going to be the Royal Institute for our French player. Always something scary to go up against when you're one base against one base. But Ayyubids is going to try and find out the hard way here as he's cleaned up this little angle, or this little area over on the left. I think another important factor is going to be securing the trading post on the right side. So you can do this with just like a little nice wall segment across here, just a bit of a square. It's going to cost you a little bit of wood, but definitely worthwhile to do to guarantee that your enemy is not doing something that they shouldn't be. Age up will get through, but will he lose vills because of it? He's already lost a couple this game, but now the spear's going to make their way through. Needs to avoid fighting right now. Ayyubid's got an absolutely amazing army. Spears fighting against spears. You don't want that. You want your spears fighting up against these knights. But you do have those veterancy upgrades. +2 has come through. How does he have +2 on his hardened spearmen? I've got no idea. Oh, because he's the French. Duh. The French get immediately +2 upgrades. And look at this. The numbers have been really solid. The Knight's able to overwhelm here. And despite having more spears, he's lost out. Ayyubid down to a single spearman right now. The entire army is gone. And the French advantage is significant now. This is great for the French player. A huge window here for him to punish this. There are walls that are up on either side of the base for the moment. But he could definitely look to punish this. I think realistically, when it comes to punishing this, the best way to do it is just going to be going ham on the trade, right? You've already managed to put down those four markets, so go and do that. And the next thing is looking to try and break through the walls. He's already got walls up towards the front, so he shouldn't be too fussed about any sort of issues happening with more units. But in this position, you just got to go on the offensive right now. You can see what Ayyubid's doing is so smart. He's distracting the opponent. What our French player should be doing right now is just turning towards the enemy base. He's had an amazing fight. He's overwhelming the enemy now with his military numbers. So just go towards that enemy base. Look to start picking off villages. Perfectly done with the traders as well. Hopefully we start to see these guys being trained off cooldown. We need to see this like 100%. And I think that's a massive victory for our French player if he can do that. He's in a really, really good spot here, because as a Chinese player, there's a lot of things that you need to do right now. You need to transition over to farms because your deer are about to run out, 17 to 18 minutes. You need to be thinking about a second town center. That's another big part. And then you want to just be building up. You want to be building up your forces as much as you can, and it's largely going to be infantry based, so crossbows, palace guards, spearmen, that sort of thing. Maybe a nest of bee or two in here. We can see that he's moving into that. A couple lancers in the queue as well, but I think that's going to be imperative in this situation. So looking to put pressure down on these palisade walls, so 1 or 2 down here, 1 or 2 knights down here, and then the rest all through the main. And then that way you can split the enemy up, try and keep them distracted as possible. More spears now going to be coming out and meeting these units. Phil's getting caught up in the top of the map. I don't even know why he's out here right now. I guess he doesn't want to transition over to farms just yet. A lot of traders out. He'll be looking to pick up that trade upgrade. Has he already picked it up? No, he hasn't. Merchant guilds. He'll want to pick that one up shortly. That's not, yeah, it's not an Imperial Age upgrade, right? I don't think so. Well, even if it was. Actually, no, I take it back. I think it is an Imperial Age upgrade. Yeah, but you can get it in the Castle Age because of the Royal Institute. So that's a smart move as well. So hopefully we see more and more traders. There we go. He's got 3 more in queue. So this is basically like you're throwing down 3 TCs. When you consider just how strong French traders are and the fact that these are perfect corner boys, right? Like this sits in the corner of the map. You can't get it closer to the edge of the map. The game won't let you. And you've got perfect trades going on here. You have these French traders that can choose whatever resource they want. And then on top of that, you've also got the resource of gold trickling through from merchant guilds. 1 gold every 6 seconds, which works out to be 10 gold a minute, which is a quarter of a villager, which is, you know, really nice just to supplement you. You're in a great spot. So one of the things that we don't see, though, is we don't see our French player putting that pressure on. We don't see him moving towards the enemy. We don't see him forcing that opponent to stay on his side of the map, because that's one of the things that we want to do. We want to try and idle them. We don't want to just allow them. And you can see Ayyubid right now is building up. He's got so many units in queue, in fact. Look at the amount of units he's got in queue here. Does not have the production to meet that. So he's got 12 spears, 6 crossbows in queue, which is obviously nice to have. And you can see his intent here. He's going to look to build up. And this is something that the Chinese do very well, is they just build a lot of units. They shit out a whole bunch of units. Sorry for the French, as my mum would say. Excuse my French. I would always wonder, Mum, I don't think that's French. Anyway, the first relic that gets picked up is denied by Ayyubid, so very well done by him to recognize that that was going on the map. And we now start to see some aggression. Very, very well put down. I think the biggest thing here for our French player is, as I mentioned, you know, getting that trade online, getting that up and running, but then being able to hold on for the defense is really important as well. So identifying exactly what your opponent's making and then being able to counter that. And I think crossbows are just going to be sort of your go-to on the defense, or at least arbalètrier for our French. And we can see he's now actually got 3 of those in queue. Comes in, sees a whole bunch of farms down here, and instead of going down towards this angle, he's going to look up towards the top side. A lot of vills were on gold, and he's doing a decent job of cleaning them out. We'll keep an eye on that number and see whether it rises as he remains inside the base. A couple of vills jump inside the Barbican. Meanwhile, the rest of the units are on the way back. He's picked up that relic as well. We'll keep an eye on those. He's actually got 3 in the bag, despite having that earlier age up, compared to his opponent, who's got 2 in the hand for the moment. Royal Knights are just having... This is not where you want to be as a Royal Knight. You don't want to be fighting units. You want to be moving. You want to be mobile. You want to be looking for vills, and you want to be trying to force them down. We've got plenty of vills over here. Have a look at this. Ayyubids is just... You know, he's got plenty of vision, but there is no spot on this from the French side. So it's one of those things where it's really important to split up our troops and just move like 1 or 2 to the bottom, 1 or 2 to the top, and then the rest of them through the front of the base, or at least, you know, jostling for position in the mid. And then that way you can kind of divert forces. And the idea is that you want to get through these walls, but eventually you want to take time. You just want to distract the enemy. So let's see exactly what the play is here from the French side, as plenty of vills are out here on the map gathering up this gold. Just keep in mind, on a map like this, there is plenty of gold to be had. So it's not so much about getting out of there and taking the gold before your enemy does. It's more just, you know, there's no other gold inside the base, so we gotta get out onto the map. You can see actually for Ayyubids, he's still got 1,300 left in it. He's got quite a number of ways to supplement that gold income. Biggest one going to be his relics, and then the secondary one going to be his imperial officials. All right, well, food is slowly running out. Farm transition coming through. No second TC yet for Ayyubids, but there is a big infantry force that continues to build here. Meanwhile, on the French side, we really don't see a whole lot of progress when it comes to the military. Now, keep in mind that there was a point where our French player was sitting at about 25, 26 military pop, and Ayyubids was at 5. I remember distinctly looking at the top and seeing that. Our French player has added 9 military, and Ayyubids has 12x'd his infantry count. Like, it's just ridiculous what's been going on. It's almost like the French player has been asleep. And this is going to be tough for him right now because, well, Ayyubids in good spot, and, well, our French player not so much. Spears and arbalètrier are going to be on the defense. I think I definitely prefer the arbalètrier over the crossbow. We can see now that these traders have been brought back despite not carrying any goods on them, and this is something you always want to do. But once again, I think that Ayyubids made a mistake by not singling out this trading post and saying this is mine and you can't have it. Even just like a sprinkled on the front, something like that. Just something to prevent this from happening. Because you put pressure on this side, it gets alleviated over here. You know, it's like, well, I was going to give you an analogy, but then I just said, I'm not going to do that because that's kind of gross. It was a pimple-related analogy for those ones. God, yuck, ugh, gross. But also, you know what's kind of weird? I'm not going to talk about it. It's disgusting. All right, never mind. I was going to talk about on Reddit, there's a whole community of people that really enjoy that kind of thing. And I'm not a part of it. Definitely not. That's not how I know about it. Let's move on. Let's move forward as vills go down. So far, 17 vills taken out by our French player this game. And looking to continue putting on pressure. Have a look at this. A couple of random crossbows just catching a villager stray down here. More spears joining the map, and the infantry. Look, oh my god! Oh, wow! Look at the infantry number coming out from Ayyubids. Hey, our Frenchman in the north, would you mind making some units for me? I don't know what's happened. Like, Ayyubids woke up this morning and ate his wheat bix. Our French player did not. Wheat bix. That's the Australian wheat biscuit. That's the one. That's the brand name. It's the one that you pay double for. It's the same product, but you pay more for it. But anyway, Ayyubids woke up this morning. He had his wheat bix. That's an Aussie saying. Whereas it looks like our French player has forgotten the wheat bix, at least for the moment. The infantry numbers together with the crossbows looking really solid, and vills might go down here. He does have stone walls, so not going to be able to go any further than that. But there are a lot of infrastructure projects still yet to be built up here in Ayyubids. For a second time this game is going to take out the big boy boat boom that is made of land traders instead. So we want to be seeing a market thrown down here. Really important right now for our French player. Needs to throw down that market, and then that's going to allow him to continue his trade, and then allow him to not avoid losing those traders, because that's kind of important to keep those alive, and we don't want to leave them idle either. All right, well, let's check in now with Ayyubids. See how he's doing, as he's got infantry in the north and infantry in the south. But the problem that he's got right now is his army is split, and there is no easy way out of this. And our French player knows that. Mangonel coming out as well. Men-at-arms together with the spears. Crossbows at the back. He's actually going to try and get these... what are these traders doing? These traders are all heading home. I'm coming home. Mangonel continuing to put out that pressure. Trying to hit the back line. Just look how little damage it does. Like, you did 60 damage to a crossbow and 20 damage to this guy. Like, that's it. You wait until Imperial Age, buddy, and things are going to be... you'll change your tune real quick. But we can see just how many he's able to slaughter behind here. Up to 22, 23. That number's going to continue to rise. Ellyona just going to be focusing down, taking the traders. But that's actually not a good idea, in my opinion. Because, as you can see, traders are easily replaced. It is unfortunate, but that is just the reality of being a trader. In Age of Empires 4, you're easily replaced. Vil's a little bit harder to justify. Or easier to justify, but traders in particular. Because, yeah, what you effectively just took out there was like a minute of production of traders. That's pretty much it. But he's lost a lot of units now, and it means, have a look at this. Ellyona, he doesn't even care, dude. That's the crazy part. Like, he lost all those troops. I think he's got to be careful, right? Like, you just can't throw away troops like that. But he did achieve a fair bit there. He was able to take out the traders. Delays the opponent's economy by quite a bit. Didn't get those efficient trades off it. Now we can head down to the west side. Do we see stone walls? I want to start seeing stone walls on this west side, even if it's just like little bits, right? Because it's going to stop your opponent from making progress on those flanks. And even if it means that they come through here with a battering ram or two, it gives you time. It gives you time to get into position. It gives you time to protect your traders. So I think that's really important. But we've now got the siege workshop coming down. Ellyona throws down the Imperial Palace on the front line and going to be looking to utilize that Imperial Spies ability. Let's have a look and see if he's able to spot out where the enemy is now trading. Who could imagine where it could possibly be? We definitely don't know. He hasn't used the ability yet. I'm always a big fan of using it immediately and then 12 seconds later being like, why did I do that? I should have waited for my knights to get into position. It's one of those things. All right, well, walls starting to come up now for Ellyona along the south side of the map, looking to secure up this trade post finally. We do see that, but it's more just he's looking to secure up his base. He's looking to give himself a little bit of extra layering. And now that trebuchet going to be working down the palisade on the front. Still no Imperial Spies just yet. Don't worry. We'll miss it when it happens. And the moment we switch off is the moment he'll use it. I just like looking at it. It's a cool layout. Well, Ellyona putting the pressure on. So I think in this position, Ellyona is still definitely favored. But how many of these? These are... No, there's no Jugono. Okay, he's got 50 spears. That's a decent amount of spears to have. I support that. The one thing that you have to be very careful about going spears in this composition against the French is gambesons. So gambesons is the upgrade that gives the French Abbasid 5 extra base armor. And it means that your spears previously were getting almost all of their damage through. Now the enemy's got 6 armor. You're doing 10 damage. You're only doing 4 damage total after the armor is counted, compared to doing 9 damage from before. So it's one of those things where you're doing less than half the damage that you previously were doing. And once again, another really good fight here, I think, for our French player. Mangonels want to be looking towards this crossbow mass. Let's see if he's able to focus. Good shot on the front. Spears getting chased back. Knights into the backside, managing to get straight onto the nest of bees. I didn't see it. He didn't see it. Nobody saw it except for our Frenchman. And now looking to clean up this mass. You can see the Abbasid slowly but steadily will take them out. You want to try and evac your knights, because otherwise they're just going to die to this huge combo of units, and realistically you just want to try and keep them alive. Men-at-arms together with the Abbasid. Beautiful combination. And once again, I'm hoping that with this victory, our French player is going to be getting a little bit more motivated to get out on the map and do something. Realistically at this point, our French player needs to be putting the pedal to the metal with his trade. He needs to be thinking about aging up to Imperial Age, and he needs to look to try and do some damage, dish it out on the map here. He's got a nice, lovely army. It's worth getting out here and doing something with it. Well, well, well. If it isn't the Great Wall Gatehouse back once again to destroy another French player's game plans. This is scary. This is really scary. This is positioned incredibly well. Out the front of the base, covers the entirety of this front, with the exception of this little bit down the bottom, and just progresses or projects so much power across the center of this map, really divides it and says, you can't come from this side to this side anymore. It's either you fight me from the top or you fight me from the side. It's one of the two. Makes it very hard to squeeze by with an army. But speaking of squeezing, he's at 179 pop. Ellyona at 158. I don't know how he's thrown away so many armies this game, Ellyona. And he looks like he hasn't. he just keeps his chin up, and the economy's nothing to write home about. That's the crazy thing. Like, realistically, he's not going too crazy. He's still got tier 1, or no, he doesn't even have a tier 1. He's got level 0 on his gathering upgrades, and he's got the farms going for him. I guess that's something. Oh, there we go. It's literally coming in right now. Specialized pick. I don't know how I missed that. Is he supervising it? He'd have to be supervising it somewhere, right? Nope, not even supervising it. I guess maybe I saw it here and then I thought about it here. Maybe that's what I did. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on our French player in the north. He's at 190 pop versus the 170, so the economy has definitely developed. Now he's going to look to put pressure on the south side. There are vills out here. He spots them, begins to move into position, wants to make sure he stays close by, or at least nearby, to these units. He's going to siege down this wall, hopefully run in along this corridor, and then look to try and take these vills out. It's a decent chunk of vills, and keep in mind we're still on 1 TC Chinese here, 30 minutes into this game. Now, one thing we haven't done is a little bit of an eco comparison. I don't know if it's worthwhile doing right now at this stage, because we do have quite a few idols, and we do have army beginning to approach, but this is not a fight that you want to take right now, because you've got... Have we got elite units? Wait, where are the elite units? Oh no, elite units will be on this side. Yeah, there's the elite crossbows. So this is a fight that we never want to take as the French. Sorry, I got a bit confused there. I thought that our French player had aged up and not our Chinese player, but it was the other way around. But Mangonels need to be careful not to get caught. You can see the Lancer is still sitting on them. Crossbows or artillery will turn around. And the Red Palace is now coming up. He's really looking to fortify this western side. Red Palace arrives and will protect the trade over on this western side. Meanwhile, towards the north, a very scary stone wall prevents any battering rams from even coming close to its proximity. They say, "Get back, heathen, you shall not approach." And all battering rams obey. That's quite a standard thing that happens. What is going on? Okay, so he's given it an attack move order to come down to this gold vein and attack anything that's close or nearby. And the battering ram's like, I gotcha, choom. And unfortunately, he doesn't gotcha. Anyway, the mystery of the battering ram will be resolved shortly, I'm sure. Great Wall Gatehouse, standing strong. No real value just yet. It's one of those things where it's like, it's more of a formality, really. I mean, nobody's gonna fight you underneath the Great Wall Gatehouse. You'd be crazy to fight underneath the Great Wall Gatehouse. Big farming economy, looking good. Let's compare the pair, see how we're doing. 1800, 4K, 4.6K, 5.6K coming through for our French player. On the side of Elyona, 2.5, 3.1, 4.6. No, wait, 4.4, 4.7. So very slight, not slight, but significant advantage at the moment for our French player. About 1.1K higher, somewhere in that region. You know, about 1,000 resources. Interesting wall coming through. Oh, this is a French... Yeah, this is a French wall. Okay, good. I thought that was a Chinese wall for a second. And we stall out once again. I really feel like the theme of this game is that our French player has not been aggressive when he could have been aggressive. And he's giving Elyona ways to come back into the game. And once again now, Elyona is going to start approaching this critical mass of units. 3 hand cannoneers out for the moment. Not a huge amount of hand cannoneers, but it's going to start building. Keep that in mind. Stonewall now coming up along the south side of the map as well. Hold on, we've got a palisade. It's palisade here. So it's only along the east side for the moment. Big stone wall as well. Uninterrupted stone wall, which are the best types of stone walls. A lot of stone going to good use right here. Elite army tactics on the way. More upgrades coming through for our French player as well. We're right on board with him. Have we got adjustable crossbars? No, we don't. Not really surprised, to be honest. It's an expensive tech. But we could almost afford it. That's a lot of gold in the bank. Maybe we should switch some of these traders over to wood. That's one of the flexible things about the French, is you can just grab a whole bunch of traders and be like, hey, you guys now want wood instead. And there you go. It's just there. Used to be able to do it with stone as well. Kind of crazy. Nested bees firing off, getting some good shots off. Elite artillery turning around, teeing off on their enemies. Men-at-arms coming down the hill. No elite upgrades for them just yet. Only elite crossbows for the moment. Mangoes. No upgrades just yet in sight. On the side of the Chinese, Elyona moving to ancient techniques. Nice little upgrade for you. I think he's at the moment 12 percent. So ancient techniques is for each dynasty achieved. You start with Tang, you move to Song, and then you're in Yuan. And I don't think he'll go from Yuan to the next dynasty, which is Ming, just because the movement speed boost that you get for your units is way too strong in Yuan dynasty. I mean, Ming dynasty has been buffed. I feel like they probably want to avoid buffing it anymore, because if they buff it anymore, then people would go crazy for it. I guess the other thing is you also unlock the Grenadier. Grenadier is kind of useless, though. I think people just meme about the Grenadier. I think it's good as a support unit for the juicy legacy, but for the Chinese, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's a whole lot of investment for not a whole lot. But, I mean, I guess at the same time, like, the Spirit Way does make sense. If you're going to run a melee composition, if you're going to go, like, Spear, Palace Guard, and then Fire Lancer, oof, that's a fun composition. Good luck against that. All right, well, on the backside, we start to see the French forces make their way to the north. Still a significant advantage in favor of our Chinese player. Ayyubids somehow this game has just constantly had military advantages. I can't fathom it. I don't know how. All of the fights just seem like they've been great for our French player, but maybe I'm just misreading it. Mango shots off on the front line. A Bombard in the back. A couple Nesta B's going to move forward. Arbitrary going to try and take them out. Nob's going to fire on the Mangoes. We'll find success. Keep coming up online. You can see it's about to get there. Spears together with the Nobs. Able to take out the Mangoes. The keep is online. It's alive. More reinforcements start to trickle through. Further attacks towards the front, but the unit numbers here for Ayyubids are still significant. And I don't know exactly how our French player is going to hold this position. The trade just needs to come online. Still, at this point in the game, it feels like the trade is not online. He's got 35 traders, and I feel like he still needs 100 more. But closing out these forces, hand cannoneers now going to start joining in. He's actually picked up Serpentine Powder, kind of wild, and very interesting, especially when you've got Arbitrary. I feel like you don't even want to go to hand cannoneer, but he's got so much gold in the bank, and I think that's the reason why he's doing it, because he says, I've got so much gold already, I don't need to worry about, you know, spending gold on hand cannoneers. What's the problem? I don't know what's gone wrong for our French player. Maybe not having precision crossbreeding isn't going to be the reason for winning those fights early and then losing the game here. Is it just not enough production? Maybe? Misallocation of resources, perhaps? Like, you got 4K res in the bank and a whole bunch of units in queue. Like, this could have been units that were already out on the field, and yet they weren't. So maybe that's just it, you know? It could just come down to it being one of those core macro issues where it's like, Ayyubids just had the better macro at the end of the day, and our French player, you know, wasn't clicking buttons fast enough. And that's one of the things that happens in these late games. Not a lot of people get practice in them because your games typically end earlier. You typically see 20-minute games, 30-minute games. You don't get to this point where you do have to macro like a madman. And Ayyubids done very well at that. We saw him boost like crazy when it came to the mid-game. Even though he lost those big fights early on, he was able to rebuild that army so damn quickly. Did a wonderful job with it. And now look at this Arbitrary. Gonna try and take out enemy troops. Mango's getting good shots off. Okay, we've got the upgrade. The upgrade is through. Ladies and gentlemen, we're online. We're ready to take out the enemy forces. Boom. Everyone's dead. Except for this backline, which is a problem. But don't worry, we'll get him on the next volley. He's actually moving the one Mango that was getting targeted down. He's moved it back. And you can see there's still plenty of units back here, so he needs to kind of... The thing with the Mangoes is they do so much damage, you don't actually want to fire on the same target. You want to kind of spread it out, right? Like, you want to have, like, one over here, one over here, one over here. But look at this. Spears running in at light speed. That's the Yuan dynasty for you right there, baby. Cannon now going to be coming out and looking to try and support as well. Rallying in more and more troops to the south. We see a couple of units just slowly working down this palisade on the front side. He does have to keep to defend, but the majority of the offense is going to be put on these traders at the back. He knows if he shuts down the trade, he shuts down the French economy. And at the moment, he has actually eclipsed the French economy. More siege comes down the hill. He's got plenty of resources in the bank for more siege, and I like it. I think at this point, you could even justify just going like full Arbitrary with just Mangoes. I honestly think that could be a sick combination. But even then, like, do you even need the Mangoes? Yeah, you need the Mangoes to kill the enemy Mangoes, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe you go like cannons, Mangoes, and Arbitrary? Maybe that's the way. All right, more markets coming down. Traders looking to cash in here. We'll check in and see how he's doing on the back. No siege works just yet. No chemistry just yet, so still quite a bit that he could look to get in the way of upgrades for these units. Keep in mind, this is a siege unit. This is a gunpowder siege unit. They are different units. Now, we'll check in with Alyona. We'll see what the economy is like on his side of the map. Hold on, give me a second here. I'm messing with my key bindings. Well, not messing with my key bindings, but messing with my keys. Beautiful economy back here. 3 pagodas all online. He's playing it perfectly. Really, like this is one base Chinese to perfection. Just a constant horde of infantry. Not a single bit of cavalry. Exactly what you want to see against the French. You can always mix in some fire lancers and go for some snipes. But I think one of the trouble... Oh, there we go. There we go. We get to see it. He utilizes that special ability. He sees inside the French base. He knows what his focus needs to be now. All of those farms. Not really. No, at this point, I think you're definitely doing the right thing, focusing this down, right? You want to get rid of these traders. Reboldiquin now. Oh, we're getting full siege. Oh, we're getting full siege. It's Siege Cutie in disguise. Look at the amount of siege that is in here. 1 Reboldiquin. How many mangoes have we got? We're up to 6 mangoes, 3 cannons. I actually love this. I love this. I don't even know how you lose this from the French position other than getting overwhelmed. I think that's the big one, right? Like, if you step out too far from your stone walls, you're gonna die. So maybe adding in a couple more Reboldiquins and then just getting a bit more of a front line. And by front line, I mean Arbitria. You could do men-at-arms, but I don't know if that's really worth it. It's probably not worth it. Just do Arbitria. You'll be fine. All right, big trader, still on the back. He's trading food at the moment. Economy looking decent for him, honestly. And now those forces towards that top side will ride on board with our French player as he continues to push towards the front. To me, honestly, this game has just been like the story of this game, or the theme of this game, is not enough aggression from our French player. There have been multiple times throughout this game where pushing was the right call. I don't know if it's the right call right now, but I think once you get like 2 or 3 more Reboldiquins, then the push is definitely the right call, right? Like, realistically, what can stop you? If you've got 2 or 3 Reboldiquins, 8 mangoes, and just like a semi-decent front line, right? Like, fill this out, 17 units. He's actually going into another cannon. I don't know why you'd need another cannon. You can already... Oh, you can't one-shot clock tower at the moment, but even then, you still can't do it with 4 cannons, can you? Maybe if you had chemistry? It still doesn't have chemistry. Incendiary arrows. That's definitely a good call, incendiary arrows. Expensive technology, but definitely worth it. Hand cannoneers coming out, despite the incendiary arrows on the way. And now scouts. Of all things, scouts? Is he just looking to scout the enemy and try and find things to focus? I guess that's the play. And now we see that awkward little juxtaposition from earlier. It's either you fight me from the top, or you fight me from the side, but you don't do both. It's so hard for him to squeeze through here. We're gonna get huge value. Oh, we're gonna get huge value from this. They can't squeeze this army in here. You're not gonna be able to fit that army in. Fire Lancers now coming out for Alyona as well. He runs underneath the Great Wall Gatehouse and looks to get some big value. Let's see if he's able to do it. Great Wall Gatehouse instead just gonna be... Oh, that's why he put the scouts out! Oh my god, he's so smart! He did the scouts for the Great Wall Gatehouse to take the aggro off it. And now he runs the whole army through. That's gotta be it. That's gotta be the reason. Fire Lancers moving around the side. There's no front line to protect them. All the siege is exposed. It's only Arbitria. More Fire Lancers rallying in. Cannon still firing down, taking out the Great Wall Gatehouse. All the front line has been completely destroyed. Mangonel's nowhere. Reboldiquin's dead. Fire Lancers from the backside. He's got nothing left. Where did it all go? It all went wrong right here. He just pulled him apart, ripped him out from the sides. Somehow Alyona, despite being baited out by the scouts, was able to find a nice solid defense, and now our French player heads back to the drawing board. But look at this, no units in queue. All of these resources, no units in queue. This could be 20 Arbitria on the field right now, but it's not. Instead, it's a retreating force so that he goes, I don't know what went wrong there, but it comes down to not having enough on the front line. And if you'd had a couple more Reboldiquin, they deal effectively with these Fire Lancers. And now the Fire Lancers joining the fight here, all of a sudden give rise to a real concern that you're going to start losing vills very quickly. He's able to bully back the siege. And Alyona, all of a sudden, he's had control a lot of this game, and it's going to be GG as our Frenchman taps out, and Alyona is victorious. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been another good quality game from 2025. It wasn't, you know, it's not S tier, but I'll give this one a solid A tier, maybe a B tier. Alyona had good control. Anyway, go check him out. Links in the description, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching.